Guru Garanga Gandhar Vikagiridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Mahārāja ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja ki Jai Shri Rupa Anugauriya Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda ki Jai Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Golden Volcano of Divine Love ki Jai Srila Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai Shri
Jai Ho,
Purushottam Jai Vrat
Jai Ho,
Palankari
Jai Ho,
Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Nitai
Jai Ho.
Gaur Premanande Hari
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 Bol
Bo.
Hari Bol Karuna Didi Govinda Saha Kishore Prabhu and Jiva Prabhu Hare Krishna and everybody else who's watching. I don't see your names. I can only see your names when you write comments. So, all right. So, let's do a kirtan. Anybody have any suggestions of any Mahāprabhu kirtan? Let me know. Otherwise, wait, actually, never mind. No, I'm going to choose something. Let's do, because today we're going to read Srila Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīla Gosvāmī Mahārāja's explanation on the first verse of Shikshashtakam. And so let's sing Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's song on the first verse of Shikshashtakam. Let me just, okay, I'm going to share my screen. And here. Okay, where is it? How does it start? Shri Krishna no. Anyways, I'm just going to type in Shikshashtakam, I'll come up. Pita Varana Kali Pavana Ghora. Okay, let me figure out how to sing this. 1 second. What melody? There's different melodies you can do. Pita Varana Kali Pavana Ghora. Kawai Aichana Bhava. Okay, I'm going to do it like that, like Radha Kunda Tata. Okay. The golden complexioned savior of the age of Kali, Shri Gaurahari, sings as follows, overwhelmed with bhav. This is based on the first verse of Shikshashtakam. It says, all glories to Shri Krishna Kirtan, which cleanses the mirror of the heart and delights the soul. It's Cheto Darpana Marjanam, right? Then now comes Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvarpanam. All glories to Shri Krishna Kirtan, which, even if chanted indifferently, has the tendency to extinguish the forest fire of material existence and end all suffering. then Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. All glories to Sri Krishna Kirtan, which casts moonbeams upon the white lotus of good fortune, causing it to bloom, and which is a loving pastime of bhakti. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. All glories to Sri Krishna Kirtan, the life of the bride of the transcendental knowledge, and the embodiment of perfection. Anandam Buddhivardhanam. All glories to Sri Krishna Kirtan, which is glorified for expanding the ocean of transcendental bliss, and which is the embodiment of the deluge of prem. Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. All glories to Sri Krishna Kirtan, which bestows the taste of nectar at every step. This chanting is the fountainhead of pure love of God. All glories to Sri Krishna Kirtan, which bathes the soul of Bhakti Vinod, Snapanam, and which is the root cause of prem. My voice is starting to go because I've been singing for so long. But anyhow, I'll try. 1 second, just getting the mridanga. Apitavarana Kali Pavana Gora Gawai Aichana Bhava Vibhora Apitavarana Kali Pavana Gora Gawai Aichana Bhava Vibhora Acheta Darpana Parimarjana Kari Chitta Darpana Parimarjana Kari Krishna Kirtana Jai Chitta Bihari Krishna Kirtana Jai Chitta Bihari Ahela Bhava Davani Vapana Vriti Hela Bhava Davani Vapana Vriti Krishna Kirtana Jai Klesha Nibriti Krishna Kirtana Jai Klesha Nibriti Shreya Kumoda Vidyu Jyotsna Prakasha Shreya Kumoda Vidyu Jyotsna Prakasha Krishna Kirtana Jai Bhakti Vilasa Krishna Kirtana Jai Bhakti Vilasa Vishuddha Vidyavadu Jivana Rupa Vishuddha Vidyavadu Jivana Rupa Kirtana Jai Siddha Swarupa Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Siddha Swarupa Ananda Apayonidhi Vardhana Kirti Ananda Payonidhi Vardhana Kirti Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Plavana Murti Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Plavana Murti Pade Pade Piyusha Svada Pradata Pade Pade Piyusha Svada Pradata Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Prema Vidata Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Prema Vidata Bhakti Vinora Swatma Snapana Vidhan Bhakti Vinoda Swatma Snapana Vidhan Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Prema Nidana Kṛṣṇa Kirtana Jai Prema Nidana Pita Varana Kali Pavana Gora Kawai Aichana Bhava Vibhora Pita Varana Kali Pavana Gora Kawai Aichana Bhava Vibhora Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Sachinandan Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jai Gaura Hari, Jai Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod, Jai Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shastak ki Jai, Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai, Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai. Okay, let's see. Hare Krishna Jiva Prabhu. Hari Bol. Okay. 1 second, just checking. Hari Bol, Vidyalala Didi, and Sudevi Didi, and Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Indira Mataji. I said Sudevi Didi already, right? Yes. Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, and Champak Didi, and everybody else watching. Wow, I see there's 11 people watching on YouTube and Facebook. So I can only see your names when you write a comment. But yeah, Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, Kishore Prabhu, do you have anything to share from yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was filled with nectar.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I love how Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja explained everything, how the Lord was there with Kesha Bharati, and how Kesha Bharati didn't really want to give Mahaprabhu sannyas, but he knew that he and now all the people objected. How dare you? Who is the creator who invented his thing called sannyas? Us. Kesha Bharati, we'll not allow you to give this young boy sannyas. He has a wife, he has a family. And then after that, eventually Mahaprabhu, he was getting his hair shaven, even, and the barber didn't want to do it. It's like, no, I can't. And somehow or other he was able to do it. And you mentioned that his name later became Madhu, that he became a sweet
Yes.
maker.
Yes, I remember reading that somewhere. Yeah, I'll have to find where I saw that. But yes, his name became
Never
Madhu.
heard that before. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
later, and how Srinivasacharya's father was there, and after Mahaprabhu. Oh, and when Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas, he told the mantra, the sannyasa, as mantra to Keshavarti, like, I heard in a dream that this was the mantra that you're going to give me. And Keshavarti said yes, and gave him the mantra. Now Sridhar Samaraj explains. I forgot. Anyway, eh, and how Chaitanya Das was there. And when Keshavarti gave Mahaprabhu the name Sri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya, that Chaitanya Das, the only thing that he could say afterwards was Chaitanya. And then afterwards,
Right, and
then
I think
after,
his name was something else before, right? He got the name Chaitanya because he went mad after Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and that's the only
he
word
had a
he
different
said
name.
after that was Chaitanya. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he had a different name, but it's not mentioned. But
yeah.
then afterwards, his name became Chaitanya Das. Then Mahaprabhu tried to go to Vrindavan, and Nityananda Prabhu dressed up as a sannyasi and directed him towards the Ganga, which he said, "Oh, this is the Yamuna." And then Mahaprabhu went and to take bath. It's like, "Oh, all glories to the Yamuna." Then he saw Dvaitacharya. He's like, then Mahaprabhu became suspicious. Like, wait, what are you doing here in Vrindavan? And the Dvaita Prabhu said, "Oh my lord, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan." Then Mahaprabhu looked back towards the sannyasi. He said, "Ah, this is the conspiracy of Nityananda. This was a hoax. This was all a hoax." Uh, and Advaita Prabhu said, "No, what, like, no." And Advaita Prabhu said, this is the Ganga. It's like, so this was the Ganga all along? Huh? Not Yamuna? And Advaita Prabhu said, no. What Nitya said is true. This is the Yamuna. It's also. Are you still there, Madhukar Prabhu? Seems like Madhukar Prabhu is frozen. Haribol, you're back. You're on mute, bro.
I don't know what happened to my internet connection. It just stopped working all of a sudden. So did you continue when I left?
No, I stopped.
Oh,
You want me to continue?
Yes. You were at like when you stopped at Advaita Acharya, right?
Yeah, Advaita Acharya, like Advaita Acharya is saying that this is the Ganga. It's wonderful to see you see you, my Lord, by the Ganga. It's like Mahaprabhu said, oh, this is the Ganga, this isn't the Yamuna. So Nityananda Prabhu has lied to me. And Advaita Acharya explained, no, my Lord, this is also the Yamuna, because the Yamuna flows here as well. I remember yesterday what I wanted to share. There was you mentioned Vishnupriya Devi, that Gurudev would always mention the pastime of Vishnupriya. How the day before Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Mahaprabhu was with Vishnupriya and he was being very affectionate with Vishnupriya. And Vishnupriya thought that this is weird. Mahaprabhu is not usually so affectionate towards me. He's usually immersed in kirtan. And that day, many inauspicious things was happening to Vishnupriya Devi. I think she lost her nose ring, her wedding nose ring, and something else. And when she was entering the home from her house, that she kind of like fell almost on the step, and then she came in. Then Mahaprabhu was being very affectionate towards her, and then that night, Mahaprabhu left, just like that. Anyway, this just all kind of reminded me of like the glories of Vishnupriya Devi, and how the worship of Gaur Vishnupriya is actually very exalted. It's not our mood, nor is it our aspiration. Our aspiration is Mahaprabhu Radha Kṛṣṇa. But the worship of Gaur Vishnupriya is very nice. And there are many secrets to it there's many secrets in the worship of Gaur Vishnupriya. In our Śrīpad Bodhayan Mahārāja, she says, in my opinion, the separation of Vishnupriya is even higher than that of Radharani. And Bodhayan Mahārāja said, why? Because Vishnupriya, she has, because Radharani, she has some faith that Krishna will return. But Vishnupriya has no faith that Mahaprabhu will return to see her. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I heard him say that also. I mean, I don't think that's totally in line with what we hear from Gurudev, because Radharani's separation is like the epitome of separation. But anyhow, it is yeah.
Anyhow, I respect his. He made it very clear that was his opinion.
That is his opinion. Yes, that's true. Yes.
I respect it, and I think it's very interesting that he has that opinion.
Yes, definitely.
Then we read about. Should I continue or should we just continue?
No, continue. It's great.
Okay. And somehow or other, they're like this remind. Shulashuddha Gosvāmī Mahārāja then started talking about Vrindavan, and how Vrindavan is like, it's more like a consciousness. It's like, and Vrindavan is wonderful, and it reminded me how my Guru Mahārāja explains about Narottam Das Thakur. Or Narottam Das Thakur says, as Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shuddhahaman, Kabe Hamahirabu Shivindavam. That when will my mind become pure? When will I behold Sri Vrindavan? And my Guru Maharaj makes the point, what? Did Narottam Das Thakur not see Vrindavan? Did he never go to Vrindavan? He lived in Vrindavan. He even did Brajmandal Parikram. So did he not see Vrindavan at that time? And Guru Maharaj explains that it's really that Vrindavan is consciousness. And he also said, like, unless one is surrendered, then and only then can he enter the Dham. He said that many people say that, oh, I've lived in Vrindavan my whole life. For many years I live in Vrindavan. But living in Vrindavan and seeing Vrindavan is far-fetched. They haven't even really touched it because they are not surrendered. And he gives the example of King Akbar, the Emperor Akbar, and Jiva Goswami. And now Akbar said, can I do some service? And Jiva Goswami said, well, there is some step over there that's broken. So maybe you can repair it. You can repair the stone or something. And Akbar went over to go see if he could do something. And he saw that it was filled with jewels. And he was thinking, where will I get my wherewithal in order to fix this? It is not possible. And Guru Maharaj, she would often quote this verse, Atashi Kṛṣṇa Namadi Nabavid Graham Indre Sevan Mukhi Jivadu Swam Eva Spriti Adaha. Translation is, therefore material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Remember, Guru Maharaj would say, with my eyes, I cannot see the deity of Krishna. My ears, I cannot hear the Harikatha of Krishna. I cannot chant the real name of Krishna. With my tongue, I cannot taste the prasad, the real taste of the prasad of Krishna. But when one fully surrenders, then Krishna reveals himself in one's eyes, in one's ears, in one's tongue, in one's nose, and one fully surrenders. And also remind me all, and Prabhupada says the same thing. Similarly, that everything in spiritual life is consciousness. In Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, verse 4, when it's talking about the pastime of Manigriva and Nalakuvera and how Narad Muni, when he cursed them, it says here in the translation, within the waters of the Mandakini Ganges, which were crowded with gardens of lotus flowers, the two sons of Kuvera would enjoy young girls, just like two male elephants enjoying in the water with female elephants. And Prabhupada says in the purport, people generally go to the Ganges to be purified of the effects of sinful life. But here is an example of how foolish persons enter the Ganges to become involved in sinful life. It is not that everyone becomes purified by entering the Ganges. Everything spiritual and material depends on one's mental condition. So here's Prabhupada's also saying everything in spiritual and material life is also has to do with consciousness. And then Srila Śrīdhara Swami Maharaj started to explain about the separation of the gopis and how this is so high. And it reminded me of how Srila Gaura Maharaj once asked all his disciples, like, he said, Krishna's devotees never suffer. Do you think Krishna's devotees suffer? Huh? Speak the truth. And one devotee said, different kind of suffering. And Gaura Maharaj said, what kind of suffering, Baba? Separation. And he said, Hare Baba, that is not suffering. That is a great pleasure. That's not suffering, Baba. That's a great pleasure. And that even though we see the symptoms of Mahāprabhu, his joints going all over the place. Now Swarup Damodar asked how the fisherman came to Swarup Damodar and said, I saw something extremely terrifying and everything. Like very big body, joints, like all this. And Swarup Damodar said, oh, you must have seen Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And the fisherman said, no, I've seen Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is very beautiful, but he was all over. But like, this was very scary, like a ghost. And then Swarup Damdar went to go see Mahaprabhu. His joints everywhere. But even though Mahaprabhu was like that, they chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna to Mahaprabhu to revive him. And then when Mahaprabhu was revived, it's like, what is that disturbance? You're taking me, bringing me back to this world. I was there with Radha and Krishna. I was there in Vrindavan, and you're bringing me back here. So even though Mahaprabhu was experiencing so much separation, this is actually so much bliss. And the way Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja begins to explain everything, that everything becomes more subtle and subtler. And and how you mentioned the pastime of Padmanabha Mahārāja when he was there with Srila Prabhupada. It was like, and Padmanabha Mahārāja was just there in New York, and then he saw trying to see Prabhupada in the Brooklyn temple through the window. And then Padmanabha Mahārāja said, and it was at that time that I felt the presence of Vrindavan. And that was even before I went to Vrindavan, Padmanabha Mahārāja said. Now, and then I don't know how, but Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja went on to explain like different things about subtler effects and consciousness. And this all reminded me of his commentary on the Brahma Gayatri. Yeah, how he begins by explaining what is Om. Om, Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja says, Om is a big yes. And then he goes on to explain that in the mantra, the first word after Om, it talks about the mental physical plane. The physical plane, that's where we are now. That is described in the mantra. Then it goes on to the next plane. The next plane is the mental plane. And Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja says, the mind is not in the world is in the mind. And above the mind is the intellectual plane. And he says, mind and intelligence are not the same thing. The mind may say, I like this, but the intelligence will say, you may like this, but don't do this because then you'll have to suffer. And then Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja explains, of course, there's more levels to these planes of existence and consciousness. But in the mantra Brahma Gayatri, we're concerning ourselves mainly with these three. Then he goes on and to say, and then the next word of the mantra, this is all summarized in one word. Then next is in the Sanskrit it says the sun, but Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja says, really this does not mean the sun. It means that the sun reveals everything in the world. But really, what reveals things to us? It is the soul, that beyond the three planes of consciousness is the soul. Beyond the physical, mental, and intellectual plane is the soul. It's the soul that reveals everything, like the sun. And above the soul is something that is venerable and worshipful. What is worshipful and venerable? Venerable, that is the abode. That is the Golok Vrindavan. That is Radha and Krishna's abode. And what is the abode? And the abode is really Radha. Something like that. I'm getting confused with something. Anyhow, and above this abode, what is there? That is, and whose abode is it? That is Krishna's abode. And that in the mantra it says Deva. What is the meaning of Deva? Deva means he who is playful or beautiful. Kṛṣṇa, reality, the beautiful. And then we are told to meditate. But what type of meditation? Not abstract meditation. Really in our mantra, meditation means to serve. And who enables us to serve? Śrīmati Radhika. Therefore, and Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja, therefore I have concluded that the meaning of the Brahma Gayatri is the meditation on the lotus feet of Śrīmati Radhika, Radha Dasyam.
Wow, Jai Ho, that was amazing. What a beautiful quote. It's very similar to what we ended with yesterday also about the different stages of knowledge that Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja is explaining, right? He started with pratyaksha and then aporoksha. Pratyaksha, poroksha, aporoksha, adhokshaja, and then aprakrita. It's also kind of the same sequence, isn't it? Well, what was it? Okay. Pratyaksha was what we directly perceive with our senses, right? That's our personal experience. Pratyaksha, direct perception. Then there's paroksha, which is the perception of others. Para means others, right? And And so that means, everything that the scientists discover and, other people, what they're able to experience. Then there's aporoksha. That's like beyond the perception of others, but it's like more subtle, right? And I wasn't totally clear on this, if this is referring to like Brahmagyan. It's like beyond this material realm, but and then there is adhokshaja, which is the knowledge of Vaikuntha, and it pushes down. I think he said something like that, right? Like it pushes down our material knowledge, like it comes, and then finally comes aprakrita. Oh, and something he said is that adhokshaja is very different from our material experience. It's completely opposite to anything that we understand here. But aprakrita, which is higher, that is actually very similar to our experience here. That's Goloka Vrindavan, and we see how. And then he went into the Brajavasis, the simplicity of Vrindavan, right? If I remember correctly. I have a bad memory of these things. Yeah, and then, but then, yeah, that's really beautiful, that explanation of Brahma Gayatri, how it ends with Srimati Radhika, service to Srimati Radhika. That's the topmost thing. All right, so maybe we can do we could do the Mangala Chara now, and then we'll begin our reading for today. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that, Kishore Prabhu. That was really juicy. Oh, and Hare Krishna, and Hari Prabhu, and Papatarani Mataji, Hare Krishna. And Hare Krishna, Shubhananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. And Roger, I don't know what your name is, but Roger, Hare Krishna. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and we'll do a quick Mangala Charan. Or just normal Mangala Charan. Yeah. Okay. Ajnanatirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato sankirtanaika pitaro kamalayataksho vishvambharo dvijavaro yugadharma palo vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro namastrikala satyaya jagannatha sutaya cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha. Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Govardhana Dharam Vande Gopalam Goparupinam Gokulotsavamishanam Govindam Gopika Priyam. Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya devi tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada laksha kshiptastakama ditaranga madhe kripa maitvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, wasn't that nice, Shubhananda Prabhu? What a great explanation, Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī. Yeah. So yeah, we just got a great recap of what we read yesterday. I just want to see, Kishore already explained this, but I just want to see again how Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī got into explaining Vrindavan. It was when Mahāprabhu said, "It is all a hoax. I've fallen prey to Nityananda's hoax," and Advaita Acharyas argued, "No, Nityananda has not spoken any falsehood. You have really taken bath in the Yamuna." Like that, because yeah. And so then Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī explains, what is Vrindavan? What is Vrindavan proper? It is a stage of consciousness. In different stages of consciousness, there are different subjective realities. Everything springs from the willpower of the Lord. Okay. Vrindavan, the highest plane of divinity, is a stage of consciousness. Above the plane of awe and reverence found in Vaikuntha is Vrindavan, the land of simplicity and divine love. The peculiarity of the inhabitants of that highest plane of consciousness is that they do not feel that they are in Vrindavan. It is aprakrita, it is supramundane, which is the complete opposite of prakrita. The Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had mentioned prakrita sahajas, but this is the opposite of prakrita. Prakrita is when they try to make all the spirit, like Vrindavan, they try to make it mundane. They try to experience it from this world, but no, Vrindavan is the complete opposite of that. It's aprakrita, is super mundane. It's not so cheap. And so then in this context, Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī goes through all the levels of knowledge, all the way, or experience, all the way till you reach Vrindavan, which is aprakrita. So that we just went through that. What is pratyaksha, paroksha, aparoksha, adhokshaja, and then aprakrit, transcendental realm of Vrindavan. So Advaita Prabhu tells Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever you are, there is Vrindavan. Narottam Thakur says, wherever we find a true devotee of Krishna, there is Vrindavan. Outwardly, we may think that we are members of this ordinary world, but the object of all their conversation and behavior is Vrindavan. Still, although they are in Vrindavan, they do not feel themselves to be there. They are not conscious of their own exalted position. Śrīmad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu say that this is the highest and most laudable place for us to live. There, the Supreme Lord Krishna and the gopis are living in the forest. There we find no grandeur or big buildings. But if we have a true eye for grandeur, we will see it in Vrindavan. From an impartial judgment of the facts, their position is very great. But through humility, they have apparently descended to our level. It is a very sweet and beautiful form of life that we find in Vrindavan. And Mahāprabhu came to show that to us through Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Krishna is the Lord of that land, and the cows, hills, forests, and the Yamuna River are all creating a favorable environment there. So Mahāprabhu took sannyas to teach us, to take us up and make us the permanent inhabitants of that place. He says that actually our real self lives in that plane, but unfortunately our consciousness has become focused outside. Now we are captured by the mundane aspect of this creation and think that we are suffering. But this is all illusion. We must get relief from this mania. Mania means madness, and now we are possessed by some mania. Just as a madman leaves his home and wanders in the street, collecting pieces of paper and cloth, we are focused in this world. But when this madness is gone, we will awaken in our own home. Okay, I'll read this section. A great tragedy. We must return back to Godhead, back to home. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, your home is a beautiful land. You must try for that. Why are you always troubled with the horrors of war, epidemic, earthquake, undesirable disease, stealing, dacoiting, and fighting with so many neighbors? At the bottom of all of this is the fact that you have identified yourself with this material world and this body of flesh and blood. You have to retrace your path and go back to your home. That is what is necessary. Our homeland is such a lovely and beautiful and divine place. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas is all for us. His sannyas is all for us. And it is for the purpose of taking us back home, where we can have comforts, home sweetness. If we have any home consciousness within, then we must appreciate such a proposal. Home sweet home. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas is apparently very cruel to his devotees and to his family members, but it was meant only to take us to our home, to work out the ecstasy of union. It is necessary for Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to show separation from his devotees and relatives. Separation and union are mutually helpful. Mahaprabhu's sannyas, his renunciation, is a great tragedy of separation. So that's where we left off yesterday. And now there's this one big paragraph here. That's the epilogue. So when Mahaprabhu returns to Navadvip after 5 years of his sannyas, all the men, women, and children madly came to see him. They came to see him to have a glimpse of his face. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the 19th century founder of the Krishna consciousness movement, and his internal conception of the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu draws a parallel with the pastimes of Krishna and Kurukshetra. There, Dwarka Kṛṣṇa and the gopis of Vrindavan were meeting, and the gopis and gopas wanted to take Krishna from Dwarka back to Vrindavan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur expresses a similar aspiration. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Navadvip and the crowds rushed to see him, he stood on the roof of Vachaspati Pandit's house in the red dress of a sannyasi. Taking himself as a permanent resident of Navadvip and as one of the members of Srivas Angan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur envisions himself seeing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu on the rooftop. When Krishna had gone to Dwarka and wouldn't return to Vrindavan, the hearts of all the devotees were burdened with grief. In a similar way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur fervently prays, when will the day come when Nimai Pandit will give up the robes of renunciation and again come and join us in Kirtan in the house of Srivas? Now he can't come. As a sannyasi, he cannot return to his old house. So now we are deserted by him. But our aspiration is this. Just as the gopis wanted Krishna's royal dress removed and his cowherd dress resumed, so they could take him again to Vrindavan and play with him and rejoice, we aspire that Mahaprabhu's sannyas dress be removed and his former dress resumed. In this way, we will get back our Nimai Pandit, who is one of us, in Srivas Angan. And together we shall rejoice, taking the name of Krishna. Oh, when will that day be mine? Wow. That is just, this is a mood of a real Gaur Bhakta. Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. A real resident of Navadvip. Yes, that's a mood of a resident of Navadvip. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a resident of Navadvip. He's one of the members of Srivas Angan, and that's how he prays. In similar way as the gopis. Okay, now we come to part 2 of Golden Volcano of Divine Love by Śrīmad Bhakti Rakṣaka Gosvāmī Mahārāja. This is this part. So the part 1 was the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and part 2 is the precepts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The holy name of Kṛṣṇa, that's chapter 1, where we are. And remember, Srila Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja explains Mahaprabhu is a golden volcano of divine love, and the lava that's coming from him is Mahaprabhu's Vani, his teachings, his message. And what is the essence of Mahaprabhu's message? What is the essence of all of Mahaprabhu's teachings is contained within Shikshashtakam. So this is the lava coming from the golden volcano of divine love. Shri Shikshashtakam. Okay. 1 second, just quickly looking to make sure everything's going okay. Great. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadho jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamrita svadanam sarvatma snapanam parang vijayate Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtanam. Okay, translation. Looks like a poetic translation here. The holy name of Kṛṣṇa cleanses the mirror of the heart. Cheto darpana marjanam. It cleanses the mirror of the heart. And bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. It extinguishes the fire of misery and the forest of birth and death. Shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam. As the evening lotus blooms in the moon's cooling rays, the heart begins to blossom in the nectar of the name. Vidya Vadu Jivanam. And at last, the soul awakens to its real inner treasure, a life of love with Kṛṣṇa. Anandam Buddhivardhanam, I guess. No, but that looks like Patipadam Purnamrita Sadhanam. Anyways, whatever. Again and again, tasting nectar, the soul dives and surfaces the ever-increasing ocean of ecstatic joy. Yes, that was Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Now, Pratipadam Purnamrita Asvadanam. All phases of the self of which we may conceive are fully satisfied and purified, and at last conquered by the all-auspicious influence of the holy name of Kṛṣṇa. Param Vijayate Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtanam. Illumination. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the pioneer of Sri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan. He said, I have come to inaugurate the chanting of the holy name of Kṛṣṇa, and that name will reach every nook and corner of the universe. Prithivite ache jata nagaradi gram sarvatra prachara hoibe mor nam. Oh, just one thing. When my internet connection stopped at that time, when Kishore was speaking, my something happened to my Wi-Fi, and so I had to move on to my mobile data. And it looks like it's going well, okay. It looks like it's going okay now, but if it starts cutting out because it's not always very dependable, please just let me know, and I'll try to get back onto the Wi-Fi again. Okay. So Mahāprabhu is a pioneer of Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan. He came to inaugurate Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan in every nook and corner of the universe. What is the meaning of Sankirtan? Samyak means full, and Kirtan means chanting. Together, these two words form the word Sankirtan, which generally means congregational chanting of the holy name of Kṛṣṇa. But samyak means full not only in quantity, but also in quality. Full quantity means extensive in number, congregational. Full quality means complete praise. Complete praise can only mean the glorification of Kṛṣṇa and not any other gods. So Sankirtan means complete kirtan, a song in praise of the complete whole, the absolute truth. Anything else is only a partial representation and therefore defective to a certain extent. Therefore, Krishna should be praised. His glory should be chanted, and his glory should be chanted, for he is everything. He is the master, the dispenser of both good and bad, the absolute controller of everything. Everything is due to him. The fulfillment of all life is reached in him alone. That's interesting though. Everything is due to him. So that even means everything that's happening with the planet. And, like people get so concerned about the planet. And yeah, it is like very terrible. But this is Krishna's desire, all good and bad, right? He is the dispenser of both good and bad. So if people of course we should be, careful, respectful of the environment. We respect Bhumi Devi and all that. But I see so many devotees get completely obsessed with this. And, you're forgetting that Krishna is the dispenser of good and bad. This is beyond our control. Krishna is the absolute control over everything. This is his desire. Everything is due to him. The fulfillment of all life is reached in him alone. Just as a horse may have reins to check his movements, but if let loose, will run freely. Praise, which is unchecked by any mundane purpose, will run straight to the supreme cause, Krishna. Wow, I'm going to reread that. That is so beautiful. I'm going to save that one also. Okay, so just as a horse may have reins to check his movements, but if let loose will run freely, praise, which is unchecked by any mundane purpose, will run straight towards the supreme cause, Krishna. The word Shri means Lakshmi Devi, Krishna's potency. This means that in Sankirtan, Krishna is worshipped along with his potency, for Krishna's potency is included within him. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu says that Sri Krishna Sankirtan should thrive throughout the world. It should be victorious without any hindrance. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. It should be a spontaneous, unchecked, and natural flow. It should be exclusive, independent, and without reservation. And this praise of Krishna should be congregationally chanted. That vibration is beneficial for the whole world. Only by surrender and pure devotion can we take to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. This is just nectar, isn't it? Cleansing the mirror of the mind. What are the different stages through which we will pass? What are the different stages through which we will pass while chanting the holy name of Krishna? The first stage is that it cleanses the mirror of the mind. If the mirror of the mental system is covered with dust, we cannot see things clearly, and scriptural advice cannot be properly reflected there. What are the different kinds of dust covering the mirror of the mind? Our infinite, fleeting, and organized desires are considered dust. And our hearts and minds are covered with layers and layers of this dust. Therefore, we cannot see things properly. They cannot properly reflect in our mind because it is covered with the infinite ordinary desires of this mundane world. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta. That means those who are desirous of bhukti, of material enjoyment, or of mukti, of liberation, or of siddhi, of getting different perfections, and are kami, who are desirous of all these things, sakali ashanta. They are all not peaceful. They're the opposite of peaceful. They're always disturbed. So if we're always disturbed in this way, then Krishna cannot be reflected within the mirror of the heart. This name of Krishna cannot be reflected there due to all these coverings. So the first effect of Sri Krishna Sankirtan is the cleansing of the mind. The Vedic social system, Varnashram Dharma, has been formed for this purpose. If we discharge our social duties perfectly, without any attraction for the consequences, we achieve purification of our consciousness. But the first installment of Nam Sankirtan gives us the end result of Varnashram Dharma, purification of the heart and mind. Then we can understand Vedic advice properly. Okay, so that's the first effect, purification of the heart and mind. Then we can understand Vedic advice properly. Now, the next effect. What is the next effect? The next effect of chanting the holy name is that it extinguishes the fire of material existence in the forest of repeated birth and death. We are forced to come into creation and again die. We come into creation and again die. The mundane wave catches the soul, which mingles with the vibration in different stages. That is stopped by the second effect of Sri Krishna Sankirtan, and we become liberated. So with the first stride, the intelligence is purified, Cheto Darpana Marjana, and with the second stride, Bhava Mahadavagni Narapana, the holy name affects liberation from the great conflagration of threefold miseries. What are those threefold miseries? They are adhyatmika, those are miseries within the body and mind, such as disease and mental anxiety. Okay, so those are within us, adhyatmika. Those are our own problems, our own issues, our own diseases, our mental anxiety, all those things. Getting angry, all our own mind and body. Now, adibhotik. Those are miseries from our neighbors, from those outside of our body in this world. So man, beasts, insects, and so many other living beings. And then what's the third one is adidaivik. Those are natural catastrophes like famine, flood, and earthquake. I wonder if pandemic would come into that category. Anyways, yeah. So those are, or I guess, anyways, there's probably a whole discussion over that, and I'm not going to get into that at all. But anyways, we have to suffer from these three kinds of miseries, which burn in our heart like fire. Adhyatmik, adibhotik, and adidaivik. But everything, all these three things, and everything is extinguished forever by the second stride of Nam Sankirtan, which gives us relief. Now we come to the next stage, the supreme goal of life. The next stage is, and so these first two things were negative things, right? They weren't positive things. They were getting rid of bad things, right? Getting rid of all the dirt covering the mirror of the heart, and getting rid of this what is it? Adhyatmik, adibhotik, and adidaivik. Those are negative things. Now we get the positive things. So the next stage is Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. The holy name bestows upon us the supreme goal of life. After doing away with these two negative engagements, our positive engagement begins and ultimately takes us to reality, to the real truth, which is eternal, auspicious, and beautiful. It takes us to that auspiciousness which is above this world of difficulty. And in a general way, we achieve the supreme goal, the highest auspiciousness, the greatest good from chanting the holy name of Krishna. If we analyze this scrutinizingly, we find that in this stage, the holy name takes us to an intimate personal relationship with Krishna, which includes neutrality, servitude, friendship, and filial affection, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, and Vatsalya Ras. Shreya covers the, wow, what's that mean? Shreya covers the grace of Nityananda Prabhu. Wow. For it is by his grace that we may be allowed to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Nitayir Karuna Have Vraje Radha Krishna Pave. That is so neat. I've never heard Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam being explained in this way. Of the Shreya as being, it covers the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, for it is by his grace that we are allowed to worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Amazing. So that's Nityananda Prabhu. The next stage is Vidya Vadu Jivanam. This is the next positive thing. The holy name prepares us for the wholesale surrender to Krishna that is found in conjugal love, Madhur Ras, where the devotees surrender themselves infinitely at the disposal of Krishna. Vidya Vadu Jivanam. The next stage is Anandam Buddhivardhanam. When we come to the proper level while chanting the name of Krishna, we find the transcendental ocean that is above all sorts of experience. The name comes to assert himself over us. The name comes to assert himself over us according to the degree of our surrender. And when our surrender is complete, we feel a new type of ecstatic joy. We experience an infinite ocean of joy, which is not static, but always dynamic. Do we want the name to assert himself over us? Then we have to surrender, because he'll do so according to our level of surrender. He'll assert himself over us, and we'll feel a new type of ecstatic joy. We'll experience an infinite ocean of joy, which is not static, but always dynamic. There we find new life and a new type of blissfulness. It never becomes stale or static, but at every moment gives us a taste of the infinite ocean of ecstasy. Now we come to the last effect of Shri Krishna Sankirtan, complete self-purification. The last effect is that our entire existence is purified. This kind of enjoyment does not pollute, it purifies. Enjoyment means exploitation. Mundane enjoyment creates a reaction, and pollution attacks the enjoyer. But here, because Krishna is the aggressor, the result is purification. All enjoyment that comes from the center, from the autocratic desire of Krishna, purifies us completely. Huh. Yeah, I mean, we can see that just our actions, everything, all this technology and cars and all these different things, we're all destroying the planet. We're polluting. Like everything that we use to enjoy is having a negative effect. It always pollutes. Simple things like electricity, things that we depend on. It's all this stuff. Anytime we try to enjoy, we're polluting. But Krishna, when Krishna is the aggressor, then the result is purification. So Krishna's enjoyment is the complete opposite of our enjoyment. Our enjoyment pollutes, and Krishna's enjoyment purifies. All enjoyment that comes from the center, from the autocratic desire of Krishna, purifies us completely. So this is the best thing that we can ever do for the planet, to purify the planet. In this verse, the words sarvatma snapanam mean that all different phases of the self, which may be conceived, are fully satisfied and purified at once by chanting the holy name of Krishna. And there is another meaning of sarvatma snapanam. If we praise Krishna congregationally, we will be purified according to our capacity. Both the singer and the audience, as well as anyone who comes in connection with the transcendental sounds, will be purified. Snapanam means purifying. That vibration purifies everyone and everything that comes in touch with it. So Mahāprabhu says, go on with Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Of course, Sankirtan must be genuine, so association with saints is necessary. It is not an empirical attempt. We are attempting to have a connection with the higher, unconditioned realm which condescends to help us here. So for Sankirtan to be genuine, we must have association of saints. This isn't an empirical attempt. We're completely dependent on saints. If we try on our own, there is no hope. We won't get anywhere. We are attempting to have a connection with the higher, unconditioned realm, which condescends to help us here. It only descends. We can't ascend to it. We have to wait for it to descend to us. We must have that connection with the higher reality, for that is all important. The holy name of Kṛṣṇa is not mere physical sound. It is not lip deep only, but it has a greater and higher aspect. Namakshar bahirai batte tabu nama kabu noy. It is all spiritual. We are in the marginal plane of existence. We're tatarsa. So some higher connection is necessary in order that the wave will descend from that higher realm and come to us and spread its influence outside as well. Some higher connection is necessary in order that the wave will descend from that higher realm and come to us and spread its influence outside as well. Wherever it goes, the Sankirtan of the holy name of Kṛṣṇa will produce these sevenfold results. Chetutaparnamarjanam, Bhava Mahādavagninararpanam, Shayakara Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyapada Jivanam, Anandam Purivardhanam, Pratiparam Purnamrita Swadanam, Saratma Snapanam. Those 7 effects. This is the purport. So wherever it goes, the Sankirtan will produce these sevenfold results. This is the purport of Mahaprabhu's first verse. The first effect is that the holy name cleanses a soul which is attacked by the dirt of desires from the mundane world. By the second effect, it gives mukti, liberation, perfect independence from material forces. The third effect brings real fortune, the opening of the soul's treasure. The innate resources of the innate resources of the soul are gradually awakened by the holy name of Kṛṣṇa. Here, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu includes the other forms of relationship with the personal absolute. In describing the next step, he takes the mood of conjugal devotion, that's Vidya Badu Jivanam, where one is absolutely disposed for Krishna's enjoyment, unconditionally surrendering everything for his maximum pleasure. The next effect, I need millions of mouths. So the next effect is the tasting of his ecstatic association. What is that? Is that Anandam Purivardhanam? I think so. Let's see. In Vrindavan, the realm of is Anandam Purivardhanam is when we reach the stage of Bhav, right? And in the stage of Bhav, you actually have some direct connection with Krishna, if I'm correct. So like you actually begin to see who you are and who Krishna is and your connection with him. So in Vrindavan, the realm of Krishna, one who can chant the name of Krishna properly will express himself with a peculiar sort of ego. This is a verse written by Srila Rupa Gosvāmī. Tunde tandavini raten vitanute tundavali labdhaye karna krodha kadambini ghatayate karnarbudebhya spriham cheta prangana sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janita kiyar bhiramritai krishneti varna tvai. Hare Krishna Shasharmaji. Okay. When the holy name of Krishna appears on the lips of a devotee, it begins madly dancing. Then the name takes over and handles him as if the person to whom the lips belong loses all control over his lips. And the devotee says, with one mouth, How much can I gather the ecstasy of the holy name? I need millions of mouths to taste its unlimited sweetness. I'll never feel any satisfaction by chanting with only one mouth. When the sound Krishna enters the ear, he feels that the transcendental sound awakens in his, he feels that transcendental sound awakens in his heart. What are 2 ears, he thinks? This is the greatest injustice of the Creator. I need millions of ears. Then, if I could hear the sweet name of Krishna, my heart may be a little satisfied. I want millions and millions of ears to hear the sweet name of Krishna. This is the temperament of a devotee when his attention is drawn towards the holy name. Then he faints. He loses himself, merging in an ocean of ecstasy and joy. This is like the end of Madhurya Kadambini, the eighth shower of nectar. This is like exactly what is explained almost. This is like when the devotee reaches the stage of bhav and is approaching prem. This is what he goes through. Exactly this. Then he faints. He loses himself, merging in an ocean of ecstasy and joy. And in great disappointment, he says, I failed to understand the quality and quantity of the substance of Krishna's name. I am perplexed. What sort of honey sweetness does this name contain? In this way, the chanter of the name wonders. Krishna's mystic flute song. This has been taught to us by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, who said, properly chant the holy name, the sound's representation of absolute sweetness. That sweetness is also to be found in the flute song of the Lord. The sound of Krishna's flute has the great mystic power of capturing and pleasing everyone and everything. Upon hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, the Yamuna's current is paralyzed. We read about that in the Venu Gita, right? The sweet sound of Krishna's flute attracts the trees, the birds, and the beasts. Everything is astounded by contacting the sweet vibration from Krishna's flute. Sound vibration can work miracles. Sound has the highest capturing potency. Sounds can make or mar. It can do anything. It has such intrinsic capacity. It comes from the subtlemost plane, beyond the ether. That universal sound is absolute sweetness and goodness. How much power is there? How it can capture, how much power is there? How it can capture us. Like a blade of grass, we may be played by the current of that sweet sound in such a way that we cannot even trace our own personality. We cannot trace out our own personality. We may lose ourselves there, but we do not die. The soul is eternal. Diving up and down, we are played by the current of the sweet sound. We are less qualified than a straw, a blade of grass. And the Krishna sound is so big and so sweet that it can play us in any way it likes. We cannot begin to conceive how much power is in the name, the sound which is identical with absolute goodness and sweetness. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, don't neglect the sound which is one with the same, don't neglect the sound which is one and the same with Krishna. Absolute sweetness and goodness, everything is there within the holy name. And the holy name is representing itself to us in a very cheap way. Nothing is required to purchase it. No money, no physical energy. All these things are unnecessary. What is required? What is required? Sincerity. Sincerity is required. That's all is required. Nothing else. No money, no physical energy, no other qualification, only sincerity. One who simply takes this divine sound sincerely will be so enriched that no one will be able to conceive of so much goodness and development, and anyone may have it very cheaply. but one must chant sincerely with his whole heart. Of course, wholehearted sincerity presupposes going to a proper agent, a saint, and getting the holy name from him. We can't be sincere without the mercy of a saint. Well, whatever sincerity we have will bring us to a saint, and then by a saint's mercy, then if we're sincere, and then we'll be able to receive the mercy of that saint and get the holy name from him. Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan is praised by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, the inaugurator of the Sankirtan movement, who came as Radha Govinda combined. His advice is most valuable and necessary to tell us that with a sincere spirit, we must come to join this Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan, the most purifying transcendental sound, which effects liberation, gives all fulfillment, and grants us such a positive attainment that we lose ourselves in the ocean of joy and inconceivable sweetness. This is Srimad Mahaprabhu's grace. And he proclaims, let Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan be expanded into this mortal world, that it may benefit everyone infinitely. For this is the highest and greatest benefit for the whole world. It is all comprehensive. It releases us from all sorts of troubles, establishing us in the highest position of attainment. And in this present degraded age of Kali, only Nam Sankirtan can help us. Of course, Nam Sankirtan is beneficial in all ages, but it is especially recommended in Kali Yuga, because in this age, all other attempts will be opposed by many forces. Nam Sankirtan cannot be opposed by the troubles and waves of this material world, so one must adopt it. If we exclusively give ourselves to this, we will gain the infinite fulfillment of life. There is no necessity of any other campaign, for they are all defective and partial. But the most universal, captivating, and beneficial thing is Nam Sankirtan, which takes us to the highest goal. That alone can satisfy everyone. All souls that are now disconnected from Krishna may be helped in this way. No other movement is necessary. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu tells us, exclusively devote yourself to this. It is all-embracing and all-fulfilling, and you can achieve it with the least trouble and least energy. Let it flourish in this Kali Yuga. Let it flourish for the welfare of the whole universe, to reestablish all souls in their normal position. This Nam Sankirtan establishes all souls in their normal position. That's what Śrīdhara Gosvāmī is saying when he says, home sweet home. This is where we're meant to be. This is our natural, normal position. Harinam Sankirtan brings us to that. In the last verse of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the conclusion of the book is given as follows. This is the last verse of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukha Shamanas Tannamami Harim Param. Papa means all anomalies, all undesirable things. Sin, pap. Material enjoyment and liberation are also included as anomalies, as sinful activities. Why is liberation considered sinful? Because it is an abnormal condition. Our natural function is to serve Krishna, but we do not do that in salvation. Mere salvation does not include service to Krishna, so that is an abnormal position, and therefore it is also a sin. To ignore our natural duty and stand aloof cannot but be sinful. What is our soul composed of? This is the topic that Sundar Gopal is doing his whole thesis at Oxford University. Is what is the nature of the soul? What is the soul made of? What is its nature? And what all our Guru Vargas say, which is very strangely contested by some people, like devotees in our line. It's so strange that people contest this, but what all I try to say, what Śrīdhara Gosvāmī is saying, is service to Krishna. Krishna dasya is the nature of our soul. That is what anything else, liberation, anything else is an abnormal position. That is not our nature. To ignore our natural duty and stand aloof cannot but be sinful. The spiritual gift of Vyas. The concluding verse of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam says, Krishna's holy name can relieve us from all undesirable sinfulness, all filthy characteristics, and all miseries. Let us all bow down to him. Uttering this verse, the Śrīmad Bhagavatam stops. That great treatise becomes silent. The last word in the Bhagavatam is Nama Sankirtan. The Bhagavatam has given such great importance to chanting the holy name of Krishna, and Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu developed it from there. The last publication of the compiler of Vedic literatures, Srila Vyasadeva, took theism to that stage and gave it to the public, announcing, chant the name of Krishna, do this, nothing more is necessary, take this. This is the very conclusion of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the greatest spiritual gift of Vyasadeva. Chant the holy name of Krishna and begin your life in this dark age with the most broad and wide theistic conception. This is just so juicy. Oh my God, Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja's writing is just unparalleled. Nectar of the nectarian. We may consider ourselves fortunate that we have come to the verge of this most generous and useful thought, that we have come close enough to touch it, to accept it, and float ourselves in its waves according to our capacity. After passing through so many conceptions and the charm of different prospects, we have left them all behind and have come to the shore of the ocean of Nam Sankirtan. Now we may throw our bodies in this ocean and begin to swim in the waves of Nam Sankirtan, the nectar of the nectarian, by the grace of our Guru and the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Oh my God, this is so great. It is their property and we are their slaves. We have such audacity to throw ourselves into we have such audacity to throw our body into this ocean of Nam Sankirtan and swim in that nectarian ocean. Swimming in Radhakund, the highest conception of spiritual attainment, can also be found in the highest form of Nam Sankirtan. That's what is the highest form? What is found in the highest form of Nam Sankirtan? Swimming in Radhakund. That's the highest conception of spiritual attainment. This verse represents the positive side of the unlimited ocean of Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The next verse explains the negative possibilities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given his Sanskrit commentary on the Shikshashtakam, as well as his Bengali translation, which is what we sang at the beginning of this program. And his is a most original presentation. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada has also given his commentary on the Shikshashtakam. They should be carefully studied in order to understand these points more completely. In these talks, however, I'm simply coming out with whatever I feel in my heart. Whatever comes to my mind on these verses, I am expressing. And that is the outcome of what I have collected from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Rupa Gosvāmī, Sanatana Gosvāmī, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and all the predecessor acharyas. By their grace, that is gathered in my storehouse, and I am trying to give the gist of these things. The Krishna conception conquers all. By accepting the path of devotion, a wholesale transformation of our internal system begins, and gradually our charm for the outside world vanishes. There is a war within, and when the Krishna conception enters into the heart of a devotee, all other thoughts and ideas gradually have to retire. This is explained in Śrīmad Bhagavatam 2.8.5. Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhava suroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna salilasya yatha sharat. When the autumn season appears, the mud within the water vanishes. In the same way, When the Krishna conception enters into one's heart, all other conceptions and aspirations will gradually have to retire, leaving Krishna in possession of everything. When a real drop of Krishna consciousness enters the heart, all opposing forces must leave, and Krishna will conquer and take possession of the whole. What is it? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Vijayate means conquer. May Krishna conquer our heart. The Sankirtan will conquer our heart. That is the nature of Krishna consciousness. Nothing can stand in competition with it. Not even the so-called devotion to the demigods or faith in creeds like Christianity, Islam, and others. All other conceptions of theism have to retire, leaving the field to the Krishna conception. No aggressors can stand in the fight with Krishna consciousness, the absolute sweet beauty. No aggressors can stand in the fight with Krishna consciousness, the absolute sweet beauty. Beauty, sweetness, and charm can capture and defeat power. Wow, that's beautiful. Beauty, sweetness, and charm can capture and defeat power. We are really aspiring after beauty and sweetness, mercy, affection, divine love, prem. Self-dissipation to compensate others with one's own energy and generosity ultimately conquers everyone. It is more rewarding to give, it is more rewarding to give than to take. Divine love means die to live. Not to live for yourself, but to live for others. The most generous form of life, self-forgetfulness to the extreme. The most generous form of life, self-forgetfulness to the extreme, is found in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is so beautiful that one who develops it loses his own identification and existence also. He becomes totally self-forgetful. Such a charm is there. Who will stand to fight against Krishna? Everyone who comes to fight against him is disarmed. If in any way Krishna enters the heart, there can be no other consequence but that he takes possession of everything. Such a benevolent, generous, and sweet person is Krishna, reality the beautiful. Jai Shri Krishna Nam Sankirtana ki Jai, Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki Jai, Shri Shikshashtakam ki Jai, Shri Rupa Anuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki Jai. Okay, so tomorrow we will read the next verse of Shikshashtakam, Unlimited Names of God. That's Nam Namakari Bahuda Nijasarva Shaktis Tartar Pita Niyamita Smarane Nakala. So because we finish our reading at 8:35, that's the time I mentioned at the beginning of this program. So we have 2 minutes to finish up. So if anybody has anything that really stood out to them, anything that they want to share from this, we'll have to save it for tomorrow because we're out of time now. But I'll just do a quick kirtan and then Jayadvani, and we'll end the program for now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Sachidananda Gaura Hari, Sachidananda Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachidananda Gaura Hari, Sachidananda Jaya Gaura Hari. Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Param Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nogogoriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gana ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi ki Jai, Shri Tribhuvana Pavana Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Shikshashtakam ki Jai, Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Golden Volcano of Divine Love ki Jai, it's lava, Shikshashtakam ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai, Swaparshad Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan, sorry, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsirevai Priyaye Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpataru Bhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams everybody. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. That wasn't, and all thanks goes to Srila Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja. That was just pure nectar. My God,
you're so awesome. You can see why Prabhupada called him his Shiksha Gurudev.
Yes.
Actually, yes.
And Gopinath Bhavan, I was doing something on I don't remember what it was, but I chose the Shikshashtakam prayers.
Yes.
And I just went to the first verse. And so I looked up our Srila Prabhupada Mahārājas. And so I read all of those. And then I also did the translation and word for word. And then I had to get it down to 20 minutes. But I wasn't here today for this class. I had to go somewhere. But I just loved the imagery and everything in that Shikshashtakam.
It's the essence. It's all our teachings. It's the essence of what Mahāprabhu came to give. If we went to get the essence of everything that Mahāprabhu came to give us, it's all in the Shikshashtakam. It's like our everything. Yeah.
It's like we like condensed milk. I mean, at least I know.
Yes.
I love it. So it's condensed milk.
It's just as condensed as milk can get. It becomes burfi, right? When you condense milk to the very, very,
Yeah.
it becomes burfi. This is our burfi. Yes.
So thank you for reading. Your choice of teachers, masters, books is fantastic. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
You told me about it. I didn't know about. I didn't say I was a part of it. I just.
Thank you so much for your encouragement and blessings. Hare Krishna, everybody. I'm just seeing everybody who's there. Karuna Didi, Govinda Prabhu, Vidya Lalasa Didi, Sudevi Didi, Indira Mataji, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Champak Didi, Cristiano Luna. I keep on forgetting your devotional name. You told me and I just keep on forgetting. Anyways. And Shubhananda Prabhu, Roger, I don't know what your name is. I guess Roger, Shubhananda Prabhu, Shah Sharma Ji, of course, Kishore Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Nari Hari Prabhu, and Jiva Prabhu. Dandavat pranams, everybody, and everybody else watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow to go to the second verse of Shikshashtakam. Hare Krishna, everybody. Jai Shri Radhe.